Match number 7. On the left, we have Termlance versus Azul. On the right, you two may begin. Fight!
Alright, so this is interesting.
Hello all, this is Domura of mythanksdotgif here, also known as AzulRyu on PlayStation Network, and the clip you're seeing here is actually the Watch Dogs Cup tournament. It was the Dark Souls 3 PvP tournament that was hosted about a week ago by KH Knight, co-hosted by Dante WT Fun, also known as Better TV on YouTube. And I wanted to talk about a subject that I've had a lot of time to reflect upon after I lose this match. That's right, I lose this match completely. It ends up being an absolute wash. And I'm going to reflect on some of the reasons why that was. Because I don't want to do this video to try to save face. I actually think that there's a lot of value to learn from my mistakes. And it's something that I try to do in my philosophy whenever I do kind of anything in life. I always try to reflect on what I could have done better, how I could have improved myself. So I just want to draw your attention to the clip that you're watching now. It's taken from the tournament itself. And I'm making the same mistakes. I got one lucky hit in that first part, and that was pretty much it. I'm too aggressive. As a Ultra Greatsword user, you can play with an aggressive playstyle well, but you have to be accurate in your predictions on your opponent's movements. And I was not accurate whatsoever. In fact, I was quite the opposite. I was doing predictable rolling R1s. I was rolling into attacks. I was hesitant at some points because I wasn't sure how to switch my rings correctly. And I was screwing up completely. It was unlike anything that I've ever done before, except maybe when I first picked up the game. I remember when I first played Dark Souls 3 being my very first Dark Souls game, and I remember the fear of not wanting to be hit, of failure, of having to start all over again. And that fear was apparent in this tournament. You're going to see a couple of clips as well from the vetting matches. The first day and a half I did, where I was going to be determined whether I was going to make it into the tournament or not. And the first day, actually, I was pretty much told outright I was not going to make it. I was not fit for it. I was told to just improve myself and learn. And I was really heartbroken about that because I think of myself as a decent player. I don't think of myself anywhere like a pro. A pro is very committed to what they do and how they practice. I'm not as committed. I like to play for fun. I like to be good at what I do, and I like to enjoy what I do. But I'm not taking the extra time that I would think other pro players tend to take when they do practice. But practice is important. And so I want to talk about mindset a bit, because mindset is incredibly important in anything you do, whether it's something in life or Dark Souls 3 PvP. It's heavily important, and it's the main factor to which I contribute towards my failure in this tournament in the first day and a half of vetting matches. I remember on the second day, halfway through, I felt defeated. I gave up, and I was just like, I'm so sorry. I apologized to the group. I said, I'm sorry for not giving you the entertainment that you were looking for, the hope that you were looking for. I felt really disappointed in myself because I thought I would do better. But I realize now, after taking the time to reflect on the vetting matches and the tournament, on what went wrong, and that was my mindset. I usually play with the mindset of, let me have fun, let me learn. That's it. So even when I lose, I'm not intimidated by that loss. One of the reasons why I play co-op so much is because I enjoy it. And when I die the first time, that's when I internalize everything I've observed in that moment. And I bring it to the next level. I learn from my mistakes, and I make significant adjustments in my playstyle as needed. And that's how I learn. That's how I grow as a player. But when I was in the vetting matches first, all I wanted was to get into the tournament. So I told myself, I have to get into the tournament. And that threw off my game completely. It was not something that I was used to thinking. I suddenly felt like I had something to lose, and I screwed up because of that. But then I had the mindset going to the tournament, let me make it past the first round. And that's it. Because of that mindset, because I had the mindset that I can't lose this first matchup. I failed the first matchup. The last clip you're going to see is actually when all that kind of just turned around and I had given up. There was a period where I went back in the flow, and it was after I gave up during the vetting matches. And the last clip you're going to see is actually when my mindset is corrected, when I'm back to my old discipline of have fun, let's see what I can learn. And this is why mindset's important. I want to highlight some factors into mindset, and that's primarily mindfulness, acceptance for what is to come, what currently is, and those two factors will determine the third factor, which is practice, your discipline. And from that is the fourth, growth. You're learning. You're growing as a person, as an individual. And like I said, this can be applied to anything in life. Not necessarily just Dark Souls 3 PvP. You can attribute these factors to anything in life. So what is mindfulness in Dark Souls 3 PvP, since we're talking about that subject? Mindfulness is being aware of what your opponent is using, what you are using, your playstyle, their playstyle. As an Ultra Greatsword user, this factor is even more important because a lot of times you'll come across fast weapons that can punish you for your slow movements. Anyone who uses one knows how easy it is to backstab an Ultra Greatsword user if they're not careful, if their predictions are inaccurate. So mindfulness allows you to make accurate predictions, allows you to be in the moment. Any skilled player can talk about being in the zone, being in the moment, and it's because they're mindful of the situation, of the interaction between you and the opponents you face. You're aware of their body language, their behaviors, repetitive things that they do that you can punish. All those things you can be mindful of, especially also the surroundings, whether you're backed up against the wall and what you need to do. And then there's acceptance. Acceptance is when you can accept the idea that you might lose this, you might win this, but it doesn't matter. You accept that whatever is, and whatever is to come will come. And it's a way of trying to relax during a game. You're not trying to do anything like spectacular unless you're having fun and you accept that you are having fun. Because if you don't accept the circumstances with which you're presented with, you perform poorly. You don't do well, and in fact, you spike up your anxiety. Myself, as a person, I have a lot of anxiety. It's why I practice meditation. It's why I think about these types of things. Acceptance is heavily important because it leads you into the next step, which is practice. If you fail, get back up again. The Dark Souls 3 community is amazing at dictating success because it's heavily supportive. And how you get to success is by not going hollow, by never giving up, skeleton. Like, we have all these jokes and memes to reflect this aspect, and Dark Souls 3 in of itself is a huge metaphor for never giving up. It's advancing when you need to, because we've all been there. We all know generally what it's like to pick up the controller for the first time, go into a match or into a dire situation against a boss, and you lose your cool because you're thinking too much, you're not in the moment, you're anxious, and you make a lot of mistakes. But those mistakes you can learn from, and that's what also determines your practice. When you have mindfulness, when you have acceptance, and you are aware of those mistakes, you can adjust those. You can make different adjustments as you go along, as you learn. And that determines, the fourth, your growth, how you learn. And so this clip actually comes from when I was no longer afraid. I had given up the idea that I was going to get into the tournament. I had accepted the idea that I didn't make the cut, that I was pretty much told, hey, I'm not good enough. And so I said, okay, let me just have fun. Let me just see what I can learn, and let me just do what I normally do. And I didn't worry about the consequences because there was nothing to lose in that moment. And sadly, like I said, I switched back into the negative mindset that I had something to lose when I was in the tournament. And it's a shame that I did that, but that's something to learn too. From every failure you have, you can learn. from that failure. As long as you continue living, you can learn from that. And I don't actually like to think of failures as failures. They're mistakes. Our intentions are usually pretty good at trying to do the best that we can. Well, instead of talking too much about it, because I've already spent probably like 10 minutes of your time, let me just show you. like I said, guys, you can apply a positive mindset to pretty much anything you do in life. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall down, just get back up again. And it doesn't matter if you find yourself having a negative mindset and slipping. Do your best to do right by that. And I mean, I'm here collecting my souls from the tournament because I completely forgot and I was going to do some recording. And I know this is corny, but I honestly don't care. I just feel appreciative of this experience. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who supported me in the tournament, in the betting matches, especially when I was feeling anxious. To the co-host, Dante WT Fun, also known as Better TV on YouTube. And to KH Knight for hosting this amazing tournament and for allowing me to have this incredible experience. And as always, you have my thanks.